Winter power outages can be brutal. Don't get caught unprepared. Today we're breaking down 10 life-saving winter essentials you need to survive when the power cuts out. These aren't optional. From staying warm to keeping the lights on, missing these could mean serious trouble for you and your family. So stick around and learn exactly what you'll regret forgetting when the cold hits hard. Oh, and while you're here, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on tips that could literally save your life. All right, let's jump in. 10 LED battery-powered lanterns. When the power goes out in winter, your candles and phone flashlights won't cut it. Sure, they might work for a few minutes or hours, but they're unreliable and downright frustrating when you need something practical. That's where LED battery-powered lanterns save the day. These things are an absolute no-brainer during blackouts. You need proper light to get through those dark, cold evenings, and these lanterns deliver. Here's what makes them a must-have. First, the brightness. Go for lanterns with at least 1,000 lumens. Anything less and you'll be squinting in the darkness. COB LED technology is your best bet, since it's insanely bright and energy efficient. Don't settle for anything less efficient. It's not worth it. You need light you can trust. Now, batteries. This is where a lot of people mess up. If you don't store your batteries properly, you're in for a nasty surprise when you grab a corroded mess during an emergency. Keep them separate from the lantern and use lithium batteries. Trust me, they last way longer and won't leak corrosion everywhere. The last thing you want is to find out your gear is dead when you're already stuck in the dark. Here's a tip that'll make your lantern even more useful. Get one with a red light mode. Why? It preserves your night vision and won't blind you or your family if you need to move around in the middle of the night. Also, grab a model with a built-in power bank. You're going to need to charge your phone or other gadgets at some point, and having one tool that does both is just smart. Look, winter power outages are miserable enough without fumbling through darkness with a lighter or a useless flashlight. A solid LED lantern isn't just helpful, it's a necessity. Don't wait until the lights go out. It'll be way too late by then. 9. Emergency Mylar blankets. Don't underestimate the power of a Mylar blanket during a winter power outage. These things can be the difference between staying warm and freezing. They're designed to reflect up to 90% of your body heat, which is crucial when you're stuck in the cold and your home's heating system is out. Lightweight and compact, they hardly take up any space, making them ridiculously easy to store. But don't just pick up any cheap knockoffs claiming to do the job. Real Mylar blankets are crinkly, tear-resistant, and well worth the investment. If you're preparing for the unexpected, go all in and buy the 2024 models with reinforced corners. Trust me, the added durability makes a huge difference when you're actually using them in stressful situations. Flimsy ones can tear at the worst possible time, leaving you struggling to patch together something meant to save your life. The reinforced corners add that extra bit of reliability, something you won't regret when the temperature plummets and your home feels like an icebox. You need one for each family member, no exceptions. Label them ahead of time to avoid any confusion when tensions are high. The last thing you'd want in a blackout is fighting over something as critical as a survival blanket. Take this seriously. One per person, clearly marked and stored somewhere you can grab them at a moment's notice. Sure, some might scoff at the idea of these crinkly foil-like covers, but they work, and when you're shivering to your core and praying for the power to come back on, you'll be thankful you have them. Don't skimp on essentials like this just because they seem basic. The basic stuff often ends up saving your life. Mylar blankets are cheap, effective, and a no-brainer addition to your winter survival kit. 8. Portable power station. Listen, if you don't already have a portable power station, you're playing a risky game. Power outages in winter aren't just inconvenient, they can be downright dangerous. You're not finding me sitting in the dark or shivering when I could have one of these lifesavers right at home. A portable power station is your best friend when the grid goes down. It keeps critical devices like phones, tablets, or laptops charged, powers small appliances like a mini fridge to save your food, and could literally help anyone relying on a CPAP machine to breathe while they sleep. Imagine losing power overnight without one. Not an option. When you're shopping for a power station, don't just grab any old gadget. Go for one with at least 500 watt-hours of capacity. Anything less won't cut it. Pick something with multiple USB ports, some AC outlets, and if you're fancy, wireless charging capabilities. Of course, you'll need to make sure the batteries are topped off. The thing's useless if it's dead when you need it. A good rule is to keep it at 80% charge and check on it monthly. It's 10 minutes of maintenance for countless hours of peace of mind when things go south. These aren't cheap, I get it, but think about what's on the line here. Without it, you're looking at spoiled food in your fridge, melted freezer goods, and the reality of sitting in discomfort while you wait for power to come back. Spend the money up front. It's worth every single penny when you need it. Trust me, when that winter storm hits and you're warm, your food's intact, and your gear's running smoothly, you'll be glad you didn't skimp on this non-negotiable winter essential. You can't put a price on staying comfortable and safe when the unexpected strikes. 7. Water storage containers. When the power goes out in the winter and you're left without running water, a proper water supply isn't optional. It's survival. You need to store 1 gallon of water per person per day. That's not just for drinking, but also for cooking and basic hygiene. Don't fool yourself into thinking you'll just melt snow if you're in a pinch. Snow is unreliable, it's dirty, and melting it requires energy, a resource you don't want to waste when there's no electricity. Here's how you prepare. Invest in sturdy, food-grade water storage containers. Don't go cheap, because when a storm hits and you're desperate for water, that flimsy container isn't going to cut it. Store enough water to last at least a week. That's 7 gallons per person. Yes, it takes up space, but you'll be thankful later. Rotate your water supply every 6 months, even if it feels unnecessary. Old water can grow bacteria, and in a crisis, you can't afford to get sick. Also, elevate your containers off concrete floors. Concrete can degrade the plastic over time and may even contaminate the water. It's a simple step that can save you a big headache. If you live in an area where freezing temperatures are guaranteed, only fill your containers about 90% full. Water expands when it freezes, and if you don't leave enough room, the container will crack. Imagine having stored all that precious water just for it to leak all over the floor because you didn't think ahead. Not worth the risk. Water storage isn't glamorous, and it's not going to win you any Instagram likes. But when the power goes out and you're sitting there with clean, drinkable water while everyone else is scrambling, you'll be more than a little smug. Do it right, do it now, and thank yourself later. 6. Hand crank emergency radio. If there's one thing you don't want to be caught without during a winter power outage, it's a reliable source of information. A hand crank emergency radio is a no-brainer. Why? Because when the power's out and your phone's dead, you can't depend on the internet or cell service to know what's happening. These radios are built to provide NOAA weather alerts, so you're informed of any incoming storms or emergencies. And they don't rely on electricity or batteries, just a good old-fashioned hand crank. The latest models are even more versatile. Many of them now come with solar panels and USB ports, which means they double as phone chargers. That's right, no more panicking over a dead phone when you're already dealing with a freezing house. It's small, lightweight, and portable enough to throw in a bag if you need to evacuate. And honestly, that portability might just save your life. It doesn't matter if you think you won't need one. Try being stuck in the dark with no updates, no communication, and no way to charge your devices. This is not a gadget, it's a lifeline. The best part? It's affordable. You don't need to drop a ton of money for reliable safety gear. Yet too many people skip this. Don't be one of them. I've seen too many cases where people regret not having a backup radio when disaster strikes. A power outage during a winter storm is not the time to cut corners or hope your phone's battery lasts. Get a hand crank emergency radio, keep it on hand, and make sure it's ready to go before the snow starts falling. You'll thank yourself when the worst happens, and this little device becomes your main connection to the outside world. 5. Non-electric can opener. When the power goes out, you're going to regret not having a solid non-electric can opener. Sure, it's easy to overlook something so simple, but try getting into a can of soup with just a screwdriver in desperation. Spoiler alert, it's not pretty. A dependable manual can opener isn't just convenient. It's absolutely essential for winter emergencies. Here's the thing. During a power outage, your electric gadgets are useless, and that includes your fancy automatic can opener. This is why you need a durable, all-metal, non-electric can opener sitting in your emergency kit. Don't cheap out on a flimsy plastic model that will snap under pressure. Instead, go for one that's tough and reliable, something you can count on when it matters most. Look for a design with a comfortable grip, because struggling with a stiff, awkward tool when you're already stressed and hungry is the last thing you want. The best part? These things are so simple they hardly take up any space. Toss one in with your emergency supplies, and you'll thank yourself later. Who knows what kind of canned food you'll rely on when the winter storm really hits? Soups, beans, chili, whatever. But without a non-electric can opener, it's all just metal you can't eat through. Don't make the mistake of assuming you'll always have electricity and every tool at your fingertips. Winter outages can stretch for hours or even days, and preparation separates the survivors from the uncomfortable. Stick that can opener in your kit and keep it with your flashlights, batteries, and first aid supplies. Trust me, when the lights go out, small tools like this make a world of difference. 4. Portable propane heater. If you don't have a portable propane heater ready to go for winter power outages, you're setting yourself up for a miserable and potentially dangerous situation. When the power dies, temperatures inside your home can drop fast, especially during a brutal winter storm. A portable propane heater is a game changer, but don't buy just any model. Get one that's indoor rated with safety features like tip-overs and low oxygen sensors. It's not worth risking your life on cheaper, unsafe models. When it comes to size, a heater in the 4,000 to 9,000 BTU range will do the job without burning through your propane stock too quickly. This range is ideal for heating standard-sized rooms efficiently without overwhelming you or the space. Speaking of propane, don't forget you'll need fuel. This is not the time to wing it. Be prepared with at least 3 1-pound propane tanks to keep your heater running for a while. Store them properly, preferably in an outdoor, well-ventilated area. Propane is safe when handled correctly, but negligence can cause disasters. Now, here's the critical part: using the heater safely. Always crack a window or ensure there's ventilation when using it indoors, even if it feels counterintuitive. Lack of airflow can lead to a dangerous buildup of carbon monoxide, and that's a risk you absolutely cannot take. Investing in a reliable carbon monoxide detector is non-negotiable. It's a small price to pay for peace of mind and safety during an emergency. And having a portable propane heater isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a survival essential. When the power goes out and the cold starts creeping in, you'll thank yourself for being smart enough to prepare. Remember, winter storms don't care about your comfort. You have to care enough to stay ahead of the game. Don't skimp on this one. 3. Ready-to-eat meals. When the power goes out and the temperature drops, being hungry is a recipe for disaster. You need quick, reliable food supplies that don't depend on electricity or hours of prep time. That's why ready-to-eat meals are an absolute non-negotiable in your winter emergency kit. I'm talking high-calorie meal bars, freeze-dried options, and even some comfort foods like hot chocolate. You'll thank yourself for including these when the stress hits you. Forget fancy, focus on fuel and simplicity. Make it easy on yourself by storing everything in a labeled, accessible bin. You don't want to be rummaging through cabinets in the dark while you're freezing. And don't forget disposable utensils. The last thing you need is a pile of dirty dishes when water might not even be available. You've got to stay efficient and clean when chaos strikes. Here's a key tip most people forget. Rotate your food stock seasonally. Those meal bars sitting in your emergency kit since last year, they're probably stale and worthless by now. Eat them, replace them, and keep the cycle going. And don't just think about meals you can heat up. No power likely means no stove or microwave. So choose foods that can be eaten cold if it comes down to it. Survival isn't about gourmet tastes. It's about practicality. At the end of the day, having ready-to-eat meals could seriously mean the difference between staying sharp and spiraling into exhaustion during a winter blackout. You don't want to wait until you're on the verge of passing out from hunger to realize you didn't prepare. No one's coming to save you right away during a storm, so act like your survival depends on what you packed. Because it does. 2. First aid kit. A proper first aid kit in winter isn't optional. It's critical, especially during power outages. Forget the one-size-fits-all emergency kits. You need a winter-specific setup tailored for survival when things get tough. Start with a waterproof container. Your supplies are useless if they're soaked from snow or leaks. Add instant ice packs and thermal blankets. These can literally save a life by addressing hypothermia or minor injuries. You'll want a pulse oximeter to monitor oxygen levels, especially if anyone in your household has pre-existing conditions or if you're relying on alternative heat sources that might reduce air quality. Toss in chemical hand warmers. They're cheap, they're crucial, and they could mean the difference between cold fingers and frostbite. Don't forget essentials like adhesive bandages, antiseptics, and painkillers. But take it up a notch. Include specific medications that anyone in your house might need daily or in emergencies, like inhalers or EpiPens. Power outages can last longer than expected, and pharmacies might not be available. Think beyond just supplies. Prepare information. Laminate an emergency contact card with numbers for family, local emergency services, and nearby shelters. What if your phone dies and all that info is locked away in a screen you can't turn on? Exactly. This card goes in the kit. Be thorough and write down any critical medical details like allergies or ongoing treatments in a small notebook. Keep it waterproof and easy to grab. The reality is brutal. You might face a situation where you can't call for help because there's no service, or EMS takes longer than usual due to dangerous conditions. Having a first aid kit that's ready for winter emergencies could mean the difference between "we handled it" and something far worse. Don't regret skipping the details. Prepare it now. 1. Battery-powered carbon monoxide detector. First off, if you don't already own a battery-powered carbon monoxide CO detector, you're playing a dangerous game during winter power outages. When the electricity goes out, people often rely on alternative heat sources like space heaters, fireplaces, or portable generators. While these might keep you warm, they can also silently kill you. Carbon monoxide is colorless, odorless, and deadly. It's not something you'll notice creeping up on you until it's too late. Here's the deal. A battery-powered CO detector is non-negotiable. I'm talking about the kind you can trust even when there's no electricity. Equipped with a 10-year lithium battery so you're not constantly changing out batteries and hoping for the best. Get one with a digital display too. It's easier to read than those models with just beeping sounds. The numbers don't lie, and you need to see the levels in real time. Placement matters. Hang it or place it at roughly chest height, where it'll get a read on the air you're actually breathing. Too low and it's useless. Too high and you might not catch early warnings in enough time to react. Don't just stick it anywhere and call it a day. Put some thought into where your family spends the most time during an outage. And another thing, don't be lazy about maintenance. Test it monthly, no excuses. Set a reminder on your phone if you're the forgetful type. The last thing you want is to find out it's not working when you actually need it. Press the test button and make sure those alarms are loud enough to wake you up even in the dead of night. Trust me, skipping this small investment isn't worth the risk. A proper battery-powered carbon monoxide detector could be the one thing standing between you and a disaster. Don't wait until tragedy strikes to learn this lesson the hard way. Grab one, install it, and start sleeping easier, literally.